Good morning. Today I am pleased to have with me Ted Goins, who serves as President and Chief Executive Officer for Lutheran Services Carolinas. Ted has been the Chief Executive Officer since the year 2000 for Lutheran Services Carolinas. Lutheran Services Carolinas was established together in 2012 as the coming together of the North Carolina and South Carolina Synod social ministry organizations. Lutheran Services for the Aging and Lutheran Family Services. And these ministries have deep roots that go back to the 1880s. They have included nursing home care, senior services, transitional housing, veteran services, counseling services, disaster response, refugee resettlement, human trafficking support and assistance, and also children's homes and services. The vision of Lutheran Services Carolina has been to fulfill the proclamation of Christ Jesus from John chapter 10, verse 10, where Jesus says, "I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." And the mission of Lutheran Services Carolinas is empowered by Christ. We walk together with all whom we serve. The core values include compassion, faith, integrity, respect, excellence, and collaboration. And in that spirit of collaboration, it's good to have you with us today, Ted. I'm so glad to welcome you and to have this opportunity to have conversation, because we've got a major event, kind of a crisis going on in our state, in our country, and LSC has had a hand in being a faithful witness to how that crisis might be resolved. I want to hear more about that and how the people of South Carolina can be a part of helping with that. So thank you for coming. Welcome for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate your personal counsel and your prayers and the outpouring from across the Synod, especially on this issue that we're here to discuss today, primarily.
Excellent. It's a really important issue and an important ministry that we have in partnership with you through Lutheran Services Carolinas. So let me start with this question. Tell us, what is an unaccompanied child?
Very good. And you said it right. I had to be schooled on this because sometimes you will hear unaccompanied alien child, UAC. Mm-hmm. I think that's how the program got started in a former administration. But an unaccompanied child is exactly what you would think and what you see on TV. It are those children under the age of 18 that are showing up on our border generally, or are found in the country. But usually showing up on the border unaccompanied by an adult person.
Well, Ted, let me ask you this question, because I think it might be on the hearts and minds of some folks in South Carolina. Is an unaccompanied child an illegal immigrant?
That is a great question. The answer is absolutely not. As a matter of fact, when an unaccompanied child walks up to the border, shows up at our United States border, that's usually on that Mexican-American border, we have two choices as a society and as a government. We can lock the doors and not let them in. We can say go back where you came from. If they die in that field or on the way back, that's not our problem. But Americans as a society and our government have said we don't play that way with unaccompanied children who might be as young as a couple years, 18 months or a couple years old. We actually take them in at our border as a ward, if you will, of the federal government, and they become a guest, a legal guest of the federal government when they cross the border. In custody of our federal agents. And so when they come to us at our program in Columbia, they're not coming to us as an illegal alien. They're coming as an invited guest. And how much more biblical could it be than to welcome that welcome that stranger, welcome that guest who showed up at our door hungry and needing to be fed and clothed and underage.
I'm sure it's a scary time for them. Tell us about this ministry that LSC has called Therapeutic Foster Care for Unaccompanied Children that are served by this organization.
We put this program together. We actually started the program back in 2017, and people think this is a new issue, but it's a generational issue. But we've been doing this since 2017 in response to earlier problems with unaccompanied children, and in partnership with our National Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services, we set up 12 slots, if you will, in Columbia, because that's where we have one of our primary offices for refugee and immigration services. And so we set up 12, which has been expanded by the federal government to 24 slots to have foster children or foster care for these children that are coming here as unaccompanied children. And you know, we provide them a little bit of, it might be helpful just to tell you what services that we provide, what that program really means. But the first thing we do is we actually train and prepare the foster families that want to do this kind of work. And we've had an outpouring of people that want to serve, particularly this population, because the need is so great. And you can imagine a child, a 6-year-old or a 3-year-old child showing up at the border unaccompanied. It just breaks my heart. But we arrange and train those foster families. We connect them to the child when the child arrives. It's our job to acclimate them to each other and to kind of the system, and then to provide support. So one of the main things that we do in almost every program that we serve is case management. So we're actually working with the folks, everybody, to make sure that everybody gets what they need. You can imagine a lot of that surrounds trauma because they have been traumatized in so many different ways, just the journey, but even before the journey. But to support the child and the family in every way. And then the other thing that you wouldn't know is that we actually run a full school. As a matter of fact, the first time I visited the program, I walked in and I heard them talking about Pocahontas. And I could not figure out why a group of Hispanic children were talking about Pocahontas, but they were having their history lesson. And that was part of the school program. So we actually run a school because this is one population that is not allowed in the public school system. So we run an entire school just for these folks, and really a child care operation because some of the children are even younger than school age. So we run a child care and a school 5 day, Monday through Friday, all day.
You know, I've heard that your caseworkers work so diligently that the average time that a child is actually in this program before they are reunited with their family is about 6 months average. Is that about accurate, if I heard correctly?
That at one time was probably true, but now I just asked this question the other day, and unless I have my facts mixed up, I think I've got this right, is we're at about 41 days now. So okay. These children come and go pretty quick because really what we're doing is just providing them a safe place to stay until they can get connected to a parent or to another relative that can take care of them. So I think we've got that down to about 41 days now.
I think that's amazing. And of course, that's the goal, right? Is to get them with their family as soon as possible and allow the family to take care of them. But in the meantime, to give them some safe haven with families that are willing to do this ministry. And you said you have an outpouring of love and folks that want to do this particular ministry because of the trauma of what these children face and because of what's going on. So that those folks, if I understand correctly from the communications you and I've had and the letters that I've seen you've written, that these are not families that would be ordinarily open to being foster parents, but rather they're willing to be temporary foster parents for this particular population. Is that accurate?
That's correct. And as we talk a little bit more about the executive order that has kind of brought about some of this discussion today, that we are trying to that these are folks that would not normally be taking a foster child. This is such a special group and a special circumstance. So it's really not any competition to the rest of the foster care program. And of course, we are very involved in that. You know, we only have 24 slots for these unaccompanied children, but we serve about 140 foster children a year across the state of South Carolina that are in the regular foster care program.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. You know, speaking of the reason we're here today, the reason that this has risen up is because I believe of Governor Mcmaster's executive order. Can you tell us about that order and how that's had an effect on this program that Lutheran Services Carolinas is sponsoring?
Yes, and thank you. Yeah, that and it really kind of blindsided us. Maybe it shouldn't have, but you know, we just like to do our ministry and do our work and do it quietly. And frankly, it's a little uncomfortable being on here with you and being in the limelight. We prefer just to kind of fly under the radar and do our work, do our ministry. But every once in a while, those intersections kind of cross. And in this case, we were kind of blindsided a couple of days ago when this executive order was issued that appears to prohibit the use of state programs for or funds to support unaccompanied children in group homes or in foster care. And you had to read a little bit to find the foster piece, or I did. We don't do the group home side of this, and I don't think anybody in the state of South Carolina is doing it. And I was told yesterday that we're actually the only program in the state that's serving this population. So it's 24 children at most across the state that would be served through this program. But it's really in response to a fear that these children might be taking slots and money away from deserving South Carolina residents, which, as we've already discussed, is not the case, because these foster families would not be normally taking a regular foster care child into their homes. And also, there seemed to be a concern in the executive order about children being abandoned by the federal government and therefore left for the state to pay for and to pick up the tab for. And again, I can tell you that since 2017, we've served 133 children. That's all through this whole program, 133 children, unaccompanied children. And not one of them has been abandoned. Every one of them has been placed in a home with their family at some point. Whether that's that 41 day average.
Yeah. Well, I know that it's uncomfortable to be in the limelight, but it's amazing ministry that's happening through Lutheran Services Carolinas. And I think it's important for the people, especially of the South Carolina Synod, which is the group of people that I'm mostly concerned about, understanding better what's really happening. Sometimes we hear things in the news and we don't really understand what's going on behind the scenes or what it really means. We get things in our head. We imagine all kinds of numbers and all kinds of fears come to the surface. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and talk about this, because I think it's important, especially for the people of South Carolina, to understand a little bit more about this program. I wonder about, is there anything else that you want to share about how Lutheran Services Carolinas is responding specifically?
Well, and again, we're not very good at this because we don't do it. We don't even do it every month. So we're not very good at it, but we are trying to be faithful to our mission and vision. And so we're doing a couple of things. You know, we put out a quick statement. And again, we're not confrontational type people. So we've just put out a statement just explaining where we are, and then followed that up with a letter to the governor just to explain that this was not done. I mean, we're the only program in the state, and we were not, and maybe they didn't even know to consult us or to ask us. And so we just sent a dice letter to the governor and just asking him if there was an opportunity for more dialogue, and maybe we needed to just pause this until we could have some discussion and see what it meant. So we did issue that letter and have made that public, and are trying to work through our sources to get to the governor's office and maybe just explain what we're doing and how small this program is, and that it's not having any adverse effect on the state of South Carolina. It is truly just a wonderful humanitarian effort, and I don't know many South Carolinians that would disagree with trying to serve in that way.
Yes, thank you. I agree with you. I believe that if we were able to see the children and see the program itself, I know there are reasons why we don't see that for the safety of the children primarily, but if we were able to see it, I believe you're right that I can't think of any South Carolinians whose hearts are as big as they can possibly be that would be opposed to this. I've had a few folks reach out to me in the last day or so and say, how can we help? So I want to ask you, how can the people of the South Carolina Synod in particular, God's people, disciples of Jesus, how can we walk in partnership with you and LSC, and how can we help?
Well, and I appreciate the offer, and there are lots of ways. I think the support has been tremendous. I've gotten so many emails, probably more on this issue than on anything else we've ever done, or any other issues in my 20 years already, and they've all been supportive. Except I did have my first negative one last night, but even they started with, "We love what you do as an organization." They tended to agree with the other side, but they loved what we do, and they did it very professionally and very nicely. I'm sure that won't always be the case, but I'm glad to have a civil discussion. I think one of the main things the South Carolina Synod can do is just to continue to support us and to be knowledgeable on this issue. And that's one of the reasons why I'm thrilled to do this, just to share some of the real fact-based information about this program, and we have more of that on our website. And I would encourage you, if you Google Lutheran Services Carolinas, you'll find us and you'll find all that you want. There are other ways. Certainly, your prayer with me yesterday, prayers for this program are greatly appreciated, and everybody can help with that. If you want to join our advocacy email list, and I will be bold enough, and I would love to be overrun with emails, but T. Goins, Goins, at lscarolinas.net. And again, if you Google us, you'll find me that way also. But if you'd like to join our advocacy email list, we can keep you informed of what's going on, and keep you active in that way. Of course, there are. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the opportunity. Every one of these programs we lose money on, so there's always the opportunity for contributions. But I'm not here today other than to say that isn't an option. And then the last thing, because I'm probably the least knowledgeable person on this issue, is really to connect with the information that's on our website, and also our unaccompanied children's program is having and continues to have a series of virtual information meetings. And so you could actually hear from the people that do this, that know much more what they're talking about than I do. And the next two that are coming up are on May 1st at 9 a.m. and May the 11th at 6 p.m. And again, that information is on our website too, and on our Facebook page. And we'd love to have too many people on there to crash our system, so that we could continue to share the good news about what Lutheran Services Carolinas and the South Carolina Synod are doing together to serve the least of these, and would welcome all of you to attend.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you for that invitation to learn more and to get the right information, the information about what's really happening. I also want to say how much I really appreciate that what I've heard from my conversations with you and what I've read has really shown me an interest that LSC has in working with our governor. This is not an opposition to our governor, but really just asking for a way that they can work together with the governor and the government. And I appreciate that place to start, and I think the people of South Carolina will appreciate that as well. I also want to say thanks for the invitation. May 1st at 9 a.m. or May 11th at 6 p.m. That would be great for the folks who are really interested in this topic to be able to gather together with folks from your organization, your staff, and to learn more about this program. I am very, very thankful to you, Ted, and to all of the staff and folks that you represent just by being together with me and with us today. And I do hold in prayer all of you on staff and this ministry, and particularly hold in prayer these young children who have been traumatized. I pray that the time that they have with these temporary foster families will be a sign and a witness of the light and the love of Jesus in their life. So thanks so much for coming and being with me today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.